You can call me Mystic Mike because I predict these things.
Kelvin Gastelum takes on Joe Pyfer this Saturday. And this is an interesting fight at middleweight. What are we going to do with Kelvin Gastelum? I feel like Kelvin Gastelum just refuses to take his career seriously, bouncing between 170 to 185. It's like, dude, you are a 170 pounder. You are 5'9". You don't have the frame for 185. You don't have the size. Like, you need to diet and take your career seriously and try to fight at welterweight at a, you know, a consistent rate. Because Joe Pyfer, he's going to have a 5-inch height advantage, a 3.5-inch reach advantage. He's probably going to outweigh you by 20 to 30 pounds. Joe Pyfer could never make welterweight. Kelvin Gastelum arguably could make 155 pounds if he wanted to. If he wanted to, you know, batten down the hatches, get a nutritionist, take things seriously. I really think he could make 155. I don't think Joe Pyfer could ever make 170 pounds. I got to go with Joe Pyfer. I think he's got more finishing potential at this point in his career. He's 28 years old. You know, Kelvin Gastelum's 33, hasn't looked the best as of late. He's coming off of a win over Daniel Rodriguez, but Daniel Rodriguez is like 38 years old. How old is Daniel Rodriguez? 38 years old. Pure striker. Got beat by Sean Brady, was just taken down and kind of embarrassed on the ground, was just completely dominated on the ground. Got Kimura. Sean Brady trains with Joe Pyfer. They have a podcast together. They're out of the same gym. Like, they've got the playbook to beat Kelvin Gastelum. He beat Chris Curtis, but before that, I mean, he's fighting at middleweight. He lost to Cannonier, Whitaker, Jack Hermanson, Darren Till, Israel Adesanya. Like, I get it. These are great fighters at 185 pounds. Lost to Chris Weidman, though. Lost to Chris Weidman. Had a really good performance against Bisping. Beat Ronaldo Souza, but just hasn't really had, hasn't looked the best as of late. And Joe Pyfer is coming into his own. Tons of power on the feet. Great wrestler. Great grappler. He's going to have the advantage everywhere. Youth, size, athleticism, skills. His teammate in his gym has already, you know, put together a strategy that was obviously effective in Sean Brady's Kimura win over Kelvin Gastelum. I just don't see him winning this. He could potentially outpoint him on the feet, defend some takedowns, but I just don't see him. I see Pyfer landing the more damaging blows and just kind of big brothering him, honestly, in this fight. I think Joe Pyfer probably gets the finish. Joe Pyfer's looked really good in the UFC so far, coming off of a win back in June over Marc-Andre Barriault, who's not the best competition. I understand that. Lost to Jack Hermanson, was just kind of getting outpointed on the feet, couldn't really get anything going, but finishing Al Hassan by submission, knocking out Gerald Mearshart, right cross to Alin Amadovsky, and he hasn't been fighting the best competition. I just think he has more potential and future in the UFC than Kelvin Gastelum does. Kelvin Gastelum has been shown that he can get beat up and outclassed in there in the UFC, and we've only really seen that once with Joe Pyfer against, you know, very high level fighter in Jack Hermanson. So I got to go Joe Pyfer to get this one done. I imagine he's a huge, minus 550 favorite over Kelvin Gastelum. I agree with those odds. I hadn't even looked before this, but I was just thinking, I was like, there's no way Kelvin Gastelum wins this fight. He can't compete at middleweight. If he stayed at 170 pounds, he might be able to, because again, he's losing to Sean Brady, who just ran through Leon Edwards. So I think he could honestly compete at 170 pounds. He has a win over Johnny Hendricks, lost to Neil Magny, which isn't a great look, split decision to Tyron Woodley, but beat Jake Ellenberger, beat Rick Story, beat Uriah Hall back in the day. Like, beating decent guys at 170 pounds. I just wish he would have cut down to that weight class and stayed there earlier in his career, because he is 33. He doesn't have a lot of time left, and he's just been bouncing back and forth between weight classes, exchanging wins and losses. And again, good win over Chris Curtis, Daniel Rodriguez. Like, those are solid wins, but I just think he has so much more potential than what he showed in the UFC. And at this point, I wonder if it's kind of too late for him to turn it around, being 33 and wants to fight at middleweight, where he's always going to be undersized and short for the division. So yeah, I'm going to go Joe Pyfer. I think he gets this one done think he gets a submission. I think he gets a lot of respect from Kelvin Gastelum on the feet, maybe hurts him, gets him onto the ground, or shoots takedowns and gets it, and finishes him with a submission. So I'm going to go with Joe Pyfer to get this one done. I imagine relatively early in the first round, probably second round finish for Joe Pyfer. Thanks.